Hi class, Jolene here. We're going to take a look at previous student work for the TypeArt project. What we're looking at here is this student's brainstorm. Let me zoom in here. So this is her brainstorm of words that evoke emotion. I think I said in the directions you need at least 20 of them. You can see this student came up with many more than that. And then the ones that she was particularly interested in exploring, she made red. And that was just her way of pointing it out to herself. Then she started experimenting with the words freedom, liberty, quirky, and bloom. And you can see she started off with just finding fonts that for her evoked that word. And then it looks like she settled on quirky, and then you're going to want to start customizing that font, making it your own. So what I don't want you to do is take a font right out of the box, so to speak, and plop it down and put some special effects on it. I want you to work with the type, turn it into, create outlines on it, and then do interesting things with it. So in this case, she's used this word, quirky, and taken an element from it and added it to the background. So let's take a look at, I'll just select this word for now and I'm going to copy it and then go over to Photoshop. No, not that one. This is the one we want. This is what this student did with it in Photoshop. So you can see here there's a comp 1, which is a group, and these are all the different elements of it. And this is comp 2. If I turn that one on and turn this one off, you can see the elements for this one. So this is what your file should look like. You should have a group that contains your word and a background at minimum, and name that one comp 1 or 2, and then have at least one other second group that is your second word. And then when you decide which one you like the best, add the word final to that so that I know that that's the one of your two comps that you liked the best. If we take a look at how this is broken down, you can see this has just got, well, let me turn these off, all of these off, so we just see a solid black background. And then this swirl has been added, a few more of those elements from the Illustrator file, this piece right here, which came from this piece right here. It was scaled up and made gray. So this person really customized her background. And then there's the word quirky. And let's just take a look at the special effects. If I double click on effects and open it, we can see that she used bevel and emboss. So if I turn that off, that's what it would look like. And included texture. So you can see if I zoom in, there's texture on that. She's got a gradient overlay, which is what makes it, adds to its quirkiness, and then a drop shadow. So those are the special effects she used for that word. Then she added another piece, a quirky, what she calls a quirky outline, another outline, now a pink one, a yellow one, and another yellow one. So those are all the elements that this person used to really make that word look quirky. And then again, this is what her other comp looks like. Has less layers involved in it. So this has quite a few elements to it. You don't have to have that many, but I just want to show you the things that you can do. All right, here's another one. This student did her brainstorm a little different. She just made them all in a row and then started experimenting with different words, technological. That one doesn't have a whole lot of emotion in it, which may be why she ended up abandoning that one. but she's got waiting and blast and the word glory, and then started experimenting with the letters from the word waiting, and then more work with the word glory. So you can see her experimentation, for instance, with the word waiting. Now let's see what she did with it in Photoshop. In this case, she used the word glory. She actually did two different words, and I'm gonna turn that one off, this one that says waiting here, and just turn on the different comps she has for glory. Again, this student went above and beyond. She's got 5 different comps just for the word glory. You only need 2 comps. But again, I want to show you what you can do. All right, so this is comp 5. We'll start here. Here's the word, here's the effects. And you can see here that she originally had inner glow and inner shadow included. And those 2 eyeballs are turned off because she probably tried it. Let's see what happens. And decided she didn't want those after all. So you can just turn the eyeball off on it, and then she just has an outer glow with a solid black background. So that's all there. And also she used a picture of the sky and clipped it into the word glory. So how was that done? You see this arrow pointing down. That's telling us that a clipping mask was used. I'm going to undo it by holding down the Alt key on my keyboard and hovering between the 2 layers and clicking. That undoes it. So remember, for a clipping mask, the thing that you want to clip into goes on the layer below the thing you want to clip. It's the opposite from the way we did it in Illustrator. I'm going to turn it back on now by holding down Alt again, and that's how that works. So that's her comp 5. Turn that off. Here's 4. Again, she used a clipping mask for the word glory. And you can see she enlarged the Y, which works really well here. Let's take a look at what that picture looked like before it was clipped. So you can see how you can just take a piece of something. I'll turn that clipping mask back on. And now we have the emotion of glory there because of the big Y, which partly accommodates the stretching of the arms, and we don't need to see both arms to get the feeling that this person is feeling grateful for the environment that she's seeing there. Here's comp 3, done the same way, and this was the one that she liked the best. This is kind of plain. Also, unless there's a particular reason for it, be careful about your word going all the way to the edges. She may have done that on purpose, but if I transform this, I'm going to do Control T, or you could go to Edit, Transform, and Scale. And now I'm just going to shrink that a little bit so that there's negative space all the way around it. That's another way of doing it. Now for this particular word, maybe you do want it to go all the way to the edges because you really want to emphasize glory and make it feel glorious. But in a lot of cases, you don't want your word to go all the way to the side. And there's another version of it. I think you'll agree that those last two are pretty boring compared to that one. Now let's take a look at what she did with the word waiting. So here's comp 1. You can see that the word is, the letters are way far apart. They're tiny and getting farther and farther apart. Another way of doing it with a slightly different background. Really more prominent and in the middle. That one doesn't have any emotion to me, and that one has a little more emotion. But I think she was right in choosing glory for her final. All right, here's another one focusing on the word bright. So again, the student has tried a bunch of different fonts and then started manipulating the type, and in this case used a lamp to replace the letter I. Now keep in mind you don't really need to put any color on the type that you're creating in Illustrator. You can just bring it over as all black and then change the color once you get into Photoshop. And in the case of this, where let's take a look what this student did with it. Here's an even different version of it. You can bring the pieces over together or separately. And here's what I mean by that. You could select just this part, copy that, come over here. Let me create a new layer. I'll turn these off, paste that, accept it, and then go back and get this piece and insert that. Or I should say paste it. That's not what I meant to happen there. There we go. And remember, you're going to want to paste everything as a smart object. So that's that, and you can move it into place wherever you want that, and then start adding your special effects. All right, so I'll turn these off and let's see what this student did. By the way, notice that these two layers have color on them right here, and you might be wondering how that was done. If you right click or control click on the layer, you can choose a color. So I could change it to green. And the nice thing about it is it's just kind of color coded. It makes things easier for you to see. That's not mandatory. All right, so here's how they did the first comp. And this is just the Vector Smart Object, which is the pasting of the type from Illustrator, and then all these special effects. That's what it looks like without them. And again, the special effects are down at the bottom. You probably can't see it on my screen right now, but it's, let me see if I can, it's down at the bottom of this. It's not showing on my screen right now. And a background, and then this is the way this student did the second one. So make sure that both your comps are the same word, but the word is done differently. So in this case, the lamp is a little bit different. So same word, done differently. All right, here's the word chaos that this student decided to work with. And here's what happened in Photoshop. We'll take a look at comp 1 first. There's the word, and it has all these different effects on it. And in this case, they turned what was a plain old black rectangle, even put effects on it. So let's see what happens as I turn these effects off. Turning them back on. That's how that looks. So that's pretty cool what you can do with the background. And here's what Comp 1 looks like, and this is the one that the student decided to use for their final. And here you can see the special effects. This pattern is what makes that crazy thing going on in the background. So this person decided to go with the word infinity, and the way they made that word look even more infinite was starting with a font and then adding this piece right here to it to create the infinity symbol. Let's see what they did with that in Photoshop. I'm on the wrong one. There it is. So there's the word. You can see it's nicely centered there. This is their comp 2. And this student even added in other more pieces to it. Not more pieces, just separate layers for the word. These are actually all just extra ones. And there's their comp 2. And this is how they did comp 1. If you have a transparent background like this one does, I don't know why it's so transparent, but you can add just a plain white layer behind it, which um, just puts a solid white behind it. If you were to print this on white paper, you'd get the exact same effect. All right, here's that energy one. You can see a lot of type trials for the word energy to make it convey the word energy. They also experimented with music and the word think, but ultimately chose the word energy. And this student did a comp 1, a comp 2, and some extra stuff. But this is the one that they chose for their final. And you can see that's the background. And that's the vector smart object, the word energy taken from Illustrator, and then all these special effects added to it. And then this is how comp 1 looks like. Again, it's the same word done differently. And then here's the little extra. This was just an extra comp, just because the student wanted to keep experimenting. And by the way, that's where that FX or special effects symbol is, that you can get to all these things. It's right there. All right, here's one that definitely conveys emotion, the word death. You can see here the student worked with a few different fonts here and then added in this symbol, just probably made with the pen tool, to indicate the letter A, and also the symbol you might see on an EKG machine in a hospital. And here's how that looks. So here's the final. Their comp 3, they did 3 comps, you only need to do 2. Here's the second one, and if you look close on this, the background is headstones from a cemetery. But the word is very plain, so really the background is what's carrying this one. And the word is not really doing much. So remember that the background should be subordinate to the word. The word should carry most of the weight, in other words. Let's take a look at this one. There's another one. I frankly like this one best with the squares in the background. This student experimented with the word wonder and Led Zeppelin and the word melancholy. And look what they did with the word melancholy. They turned that L into a sad looking tree. Let's see how it looks once it gets into Photoshop. And I think you'll agree that that looks quite melancholy. And there's the other version. You can see how that's done. All right, now we're going to take a look at some that don't work so well, so that you can avoid doing something like this. This person's working with the word peaceful. You can see here they've added peace signs to it. Here's how it looks in Photoshop. That really doesn't look all that peaceful. And this one is kind of just crowding it. That one either, at least with this one, the peace sign was incorporated into the letter A. That was done in Photoshop. That's pretty cool. But other than that, I really am not feeling anything peaceful about this. So make sure, when you're working on it, show it to somebody else and ask them, does this evoke the emotion of peacefulness? And if not, keep working with your type art. Here's another one that's not working so well. It's got some pretty cool special effects on it, but are you feeling hope? I'm not. That one I'm definitely not. So that's not working. How about this? Do you feel rage from that? I don't. That one is more so. The color is really helping that. So remember, color can really evoke emotion. So you want to start with your word and having the blood drip down. That's good. Doing that in Illustrator and then adding a background in color that really makes it come out. That one, not so much, not so much. Here's one for the word dream. Eh, yeah, not so much. I mean, they're fun. It's good practice, but we really, this one is working better than others. I'll give it that. All right. Well, I hope that this tutorial, this video, previous student work gives you some ideas for some do's and don'ts for when you get started on your project. Can't wait to see it.